Welcome to When Family Matters Become Legal Matters.
Welcome to When Family Matters Become Legal Matters. We're here to help you navigate the legal steps needed to protect your family, your future, and your legacy. I'm your host, Evan Mack, and I'm joined by Ms. Betsy Holton, founder of Holton Law Group, with years of experience guiding families through estate planning, elder law, and special needs planning. Betsy is here to share the practical advice and trusted strategies that turn complicated legal issues into peace of mind. This is episode 3, Planning Ahead for Elder Care, Protecting Aging Loved Ones with Confidence. Ms. Betsy, how are you doing today?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm well. So let's get right into to brass tacks. Um, what does elder law really involve, and how is it different from traditional estate planning?
Yes, good. Thank you. So, the basic difference between elder law planning and estate planning, it is a subsection of estate planning, because what we're doing is we're creating a plan that you and your loved ones can use when it's needed, right? Some people like to even liking it to an insurance policy
Wow.
or a business plan. So if thing A happens, then this is the solution that we already have in place to deal with thing A. So the main difference between elder planning and general estate planning is literally that you're talking about issues that affect older individuals, right?
Mhm.
So obviously, we're going to develop a different type of plan for a young couple in their 40s who have minor children than we'll plan for senior citizens who happen to be in their 60s and 70s. They've already retired, they have no minor children, so they have some other issues that they want to uh, plan for. Some of the things that are really, really important to individuals at that age. Number one is long term care planning. So, when individuals retire, the average age of retirement here in America is around 68.
Wow.
The average retirement income based on Investopedia, is about $555,000. That
Wow.
sounds like a lot of money, but that is the average. Now, I'm an economics major from college. That was my basic major. So I always like to really dig into the numbers.
Yeah.
The median income for the retirement age, that means what most people have is only $111,000.
Wow.
So when we go back and start talking about long-term care, we're talking about either having to go into an assisted living facility or having someone come into your home to take care of you. Those costs can be anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on what your needs are. Well, let's go back to the numbers. $555,000 gives you several months of that care, but $111,000 doesn't give you very much care. And
No.
so what ends up happening is you need to have a plan in place for how you're going to be able to take care of your daily living activities and being able to have someone care for you or be in a facility that cares for you, and having the funds available to do that. If you don't have the funds available, then you may be required to receive benefits from the government that can allow you to stay in a government assisted home. Most people find that they are not happy in those types of homes.
Wow.
So, if you're not making a plan, and that may include not just your estate plan, but also working with a financial advisor to find different types of vehicles that can provide those funds. Those are some things that are also included. Additionally, while we put a little bit of focus on wills and trusts in elder planning, one of the more important sets of documents are our powers of appointment. Powers of appointment are going to be the documents that we use to have someone step up and assist us because we're not able to take care of ourselves. I don't know if you remember, it was kind of recent news and it was really, really big in the news when Gene Hackman was found dead in his home,
Yes.
both
Yes.
he and his wife, because they didn't really have anyone checking on them and kind of being their responsible person to take care of some of their affairs. And so they had been home alone for a very long time, and that's one of the issues that really comes up with our elders. Another thing that we typically have to be very concerned about with our elders is manipulation, fraud, and abuse. So we
Mhm.
want to have individuals who step up with those powers of appointment to make sure that the senior is not being taken advantage of by those who we consider to be unsavory characters, right? So those are some of the extra steps that we do with elder law, that are a little bit different than just a general estate plan, because of course we want to address some of those specific needs.
So, can you speak to the common missteps families make when they try to manage elder care without proper legal support?
Yeah, so a lot of times what ends up happening, the families end up not having the necessary documents in place that can provide the level and the direction of care and services available for their loved one, actually creating a legal process that's going to require them to go through a court proceeding to have a judge make the decision. For instance, if you do not put powers of appointment, so a durable power of attorney for finances or a medical power of attorney to allow someone to be able to communicate with the medical providers about the care of the loved one. If you don't do that, when you get to the point that they are unable, your elder, your senior is unable to do those things on their own, the only way that the other providers, the banks, the hospitals, the doctors are going to be able to deal with you as the individual is if you have a court order, which means that now you have to spend time, money, and energy going to court to have the court appointed. Now, if all of the family is getting along well, that's not so bad. It's just a little bit of money and time. But what happens when brother and sister are at odds about
Mm.
who should be the one to take over now that mom is not able to make those decisions? Well, now we have a situation where we're going to court and we're in conflict, and conflict is never a good thing. I know everyone thinks that as lawyers we love to litigate, but we really like to just solve problems. And if we're in a contested litigation, we're not really solving the problem, we're creating more of a problem. So it's very simple to take care of these matters. I don't suggest that you do them alone, but absolutely, even if you are able to have your, when you start noticing mom being a little extra forgetful, when you notice these little subtle changes, that's the time that you sit down and you say, I think we need to take these steps. Honestly, now is the time to take care of it, and have the
Mhm.
long conversation, the very important conversation with your loved one, regardless of their age, is making sure that if an emergency were to come up, you have someone in place that can step up and handle your affairs for you. Because it's not always just about what happens when someone dies, but it is very important that we know that if we're unable to take care of our affairs, we have somebody ready, willing, and available that we trust and that has our best interests in mind.
So, how does Medicaid planning factor into elder law?
Yeah, so the numbers that we talked about earlier in the
Yeah.
podcast, those are numbers for private care. Most people want private care because it's going to be, or it is perceived to be the best care. But we are fairly a decent country still, and we try to take care of the infants, the orphans, and the old people. And so we do have some services that are available to our seniors who meet very strict income and asset limitations. So those limits are so low. We're saying that if you have income, monthly income, less than about $2,200, $2,300 a month, then
Mm,
you can qualify for the Medicaid, the Medicaid housing, which is long-term care for a senior who needs it. You can only have about $2,000 in assets outside of your homestead. You can have a vehicle, and there are a few other things that they will count as um, exemptions. But for the most part, you have to be extremely poor to qualify for those Medicaid assets. And that Medicaid, um, the housing and the other assistance that's available through Medicaid. Most people don't want to work their entire lives, build their legacy, only to have it wasted away just so that they can have somewhere to stay
wow.
because they've become ill or they need assistance or they are unable to have provide for their own care. And so Medicaid planning is very specific planning that we can do to allow you to preserve your legacy for your loved ones and even for yourself, but you can still qualify for some of the Medicaid benefits. We are able to place assets into vehicles. Sometimes they're going to be irrevocable trusts. Sometimes we can, if the timing is right, we can use a revocable trust, but we can place assets into trust and some other vehicles. It's a little complicated. It's clearly case by case basis, but it is something that is very, very concerning because what you don't want to have happen is that you have to spend all of the money that you plan to enjoy retirement on just having a place to live or
Wow.
just having the amount of care that you need in your home. You want to be able to travel, you want to be able to experience all types of uh, fun events and things of that nature. But if all of your money has to go toward your living expenses because you are now disabled or you're unable to care for yourself, that's not what you worked hard for. And so Medicaid planning kind of comes into play so that we can allow you to take advantage of some of those resources without spending down all of your money.
Absolutely. You touched on it earlier, but do you have any like specific things like families can do to like have those conversations early when it feels uncomfortable? Do you have any approaches? Because I know that can be difficult.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of times current events sometimes give you that open door to go in and talk about it. Like the Gene Hackman situation is one of
Yeah.
those things. I've heard rumors through, social media and whatever that he wrote them out of his will.
Yeah.
So apparently there were some, not so great relationships going on. But if you have a really great relationship with your parents, then they will understand if you come to them and say, Mom, I was thinking about what happened with Jane Hatman. I don't want anything like that to happen to you. Let's sit
Mhm.
down and put a plan in place so that if something happens, so many days have gone by and I haven't heard from you, or I know that if, in some families, so many hours have gone by and I haven't heard from you, we need to activate our plan so that we can make sure that you're cared for. Because, I understand that he may have had a heart attack, but what if it were a situation where the person just had needed a medical emergency? More
Wow.
and more of our seniors are living alone. Um, People are more isolated, and this is not just in our senior community. This is just in general. People are more isolated, and they don't really interact in person with others. We're doing our podcast right now, and I don't even know where you are. So,
Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania.
okay, great. So, yeah, I mean, the opportunity can always present itself kind of on a need by need scenario or case by case scenario where there's always that open door that you can kind of bring it up. Now, there are obviously going to be parents who are a little what we call old school, and they're like, "I don't wanna
Yep.
talk about that right now."
Yep. Yep.
And sometimes, you just have to be the put your big boy, underwear on and go in there and say, "Okay, mom, I put this plan together for you, and I want you to sign it."
Yep.
And a lot of times your parents actually appreciate that. And those are some of the things that I've seen my own clients do. They'll come to me and they're like, "I can't get my mom in. She doesn't wanna talk about it. My dad's being real obstinate about this. So what can we do?" And so we put together, a general plan, and then we take it to have them take it to their parents. And then the parents are a little more receiving of the information because it's not a super comfortable subject to talk about,
No.
okay? And so sometimes you have to just take the wheel and get it started, and then we can bring them in because now they're, understanding that their child is doing this out of love and care for them, and not just because they wanna get all the hard work and money that I've put in all these years, because they were gonna get it anyway, right? So, yeah, it's gonna be inevitable, right?
Absolutely. And finally, for someone just beginning this journey that we spoke about, can you talk to the people at home about what a manageable first step would be?
Yeah, so the manageable first step is exactly what we just recently spoke about. Um, Sitting down, having the conversation. What happens, mom or dad, if A, B, or C happens? I
Mhm.
don't want to find out, from, obviously law enforcement or first responder calling me that something has happened. I
Yeah,
don't want you to be in a situation where you're in the hospital and they don't know to call me to have me come and help.
absolutely.
So that's the first conversation that you have. And then you let them know I'm willing to help get all of your paperwork together. I know a great lawyer that we can go sit down and speak with and get everything in order. And then you start again. What we do with all of our planning is taking an inventory of everything that we have and what we'd like to happen with that, who we'd like it to go to. And then we put everything in writing.
Thank you, Miss Betsy.
All right.
And thank you all for listening to When Family Matters Become Legal Matters. If today's conversation was helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who might need it. For more resources or to connect with Miss Betsy Holton and the Holton Law Group team, visit HoltonLawGroupFL.com. Now, if you're in Texas, DFWTrustandWills.com. Your family's future is too important to leave to chance, and the right plan can make all the difference. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.